Hey everybody, it's Will. Just in time. It's time for story time again already. It's Tuesday, May 31st, I believe, and it's time to read chapter 13. It's called Guns and Magic. It's February 14th, 2013, and it takes place in Indiana. We're going to get started on book 1 of chapter 13, Guns and Magic. Using simple hand signals, the Kelly brothers slowly snuck toward the dim campfire and a woman covered in a quilt who was sleeping behind it. The area around them was heavily wooded. The Morgan Monroe State Forest was remote even before the war, and there was no glare of moonlight off bald scalps to give them away as they stalked the female. The brothers had come far east of their main groups to take advantage of the man who'd put them in prison. After those 2 bloody days, the brothers had resumed their travels, ferreting out survivors. They'd found girls and their mothers huddled in basements after the draft had taken their men, but the waves of energy this lone woman was sending out had called to them. They had followed from a distance to make sure she was alone. And when that woman had stopped to change the tire, her third in 4 days, they made their plans, knowing she would have to rest again afterward. Now she was asleep and they would wait no longer. Dean and Dylan had been dishonorably discharged from the army for the murder of a Korean civilian, and they had expected no trouble from one woman. They were spies, assassins, who had excelled at front-line infiltrations. There was only the sound of the cold Indiana wind howling through the trees as they slipped through the trunk to the yellow grass. Their movements were so alike they appeared to be only one 6'2", 220-pound threat instead of 2. Exhausted, Angela was dreaming of murder, rape, and sadistic torture. The men in her nightmares were giving no mercy as their knives continued to flash across the girl's naked body. "They'll throw us out for this," one of the men worried, sinking his blade deep into the soft, dead breast. His twin nodded, marking a bruised thigh with an ugly symbol. "We're not going back. Come on, her daughter's up." Angela snapped awake as alarms in her head blared, told her that she had let danger get too close to run from. She jerked her gun from her holster and shakily searched the dangerous darkness beyond the dim firelight. The groves of trees that had been eased her blazer into were the only things in sight. There were no sounds, not even a cricket, just the wind and the popping of her small, unevenly rocked fire. Her cover was good. She found the intruder only by his fast, lustful thoughts, layers of slime overlapping. Angela pointed her gun in his direction, and sure, if she should shoot a person, though the witch was telling her to defend herself first and ask questions later. "Use the fire," the demon ordered it, but Angela couldn't. The intruder hadn't done anything wrong. Though she knew his lean, sinewy body was ready to react, she could feel it. "Don't make me shoot you," she warned, hating her shaky tone. The flag-draped blanket fell unnoticeable over the damp dirt as she stood. "I'm hungry. Got any food?" Obviously a lie, the words fell awkwardly, tone devoid of feeling. It gave her a chill of terror when he took a small step closer. She raised the weapon, flipping off the safety. "Don't! I will shoot you." Energy, fear, and adrenaline raced through Angela, and she called for defense other than her gun. She wasn't good enough with it. A door appeared in her mind, one that carried a feeling of death. She put a hand on the knob and still hesitated, not wanting to take a life. "What's your name, pretty bitch?" His simple, awful words made her understand that the smoke and mirrors she had used on Warren wouldn't deter this seasonal hunter. She opened the mental door, not looking at what had been chosen as she prepared to do battle for her life. Nothing would keep her from her son. The witch whispered again, revealing secrets in her eyes widened in fear. "Where's your brother?" The witch took great pleasure in the surprise that spread across his hairless face, and Angela darted a quick glance at her blazer while she was distracted. It was far away, and that sucked because it was a presidential model. "How do you know that?" the man demanded menacingly, moving forward through the cool, moonless darkness. His name is Dean." Angela felt a great wave of heat, of force, jump from her chest to form a thin shield between them. The shield was visible only for a second, but Dean noticed and stopped. "Be gone, killer. You have no welcome here." Angela forked her hands at him. The burned-out fire flared to life, and the crackling flames reached the surprised man. The mercenary took an unconscious step backward, revealing the second brother and the barrel of his gun. "Drop it, bitch." The second man, Dylan, wasn't sure why his brother had hesitated. It had never happened before, and he couldn't think of anything that would cause it now. Dylan believed that fearing nothing, you shoot, die, or slow. The witch waited no longer, surging forward, and Angela stepped through the thick metal door, white energy oozing around her. "You accept without questions," voice thundered in her head. "I do." Arcing as it rushed out, power flew from her chest, violent in its passage. It slammed against the brothers as they traveled, knocking them to the ground. Angela's breathing was harsh as silence fell, and then shield vanishing as the fire sank down to a dim glow. "Woo-hoo!" The wolf's call was close, as if it was responding to her cry for help. Dean gaped at his own twin with worry. "What is she?" Dylan frowned at his brother's spooked tone. He hadn't seen the shield on the fire and hadn't already passed off being knocked down to the gusting wind. "Ours, and we'll have her here and now. You go first," Dylan spat, reminding his brother of who they were. Both men missed the shadowing, moving closer as they shared an evil leer and then suddenly spun, rushing at her. Angela threw herself toward the blazer, firing wildly. The twins dropped low and kept moving. Then the dry click of the gun echoed, and they stood up, opening closely for the kill. "Fire! Ice!" The flames blazed between them again, but died just as fast. Her energy was spent, and the brothers leapt at the same time, ignoring the bits of hailing falling on them. Crack! Crack! Only Dylan made it across the short flames as the bullets flew through the air. An unseen predator padded into the circle of the light as Dean hit the tall grass behind the fire, clutching his leg. Dylan grabbed for Angela's arm, no doubt meaning to use her as a shield against whoever was shooting at them, but powerful jaws sank into his wrist. Angela saw pain flash across Dylan's face as he let go of her, the bullets forgotten as blood sprayed violently. "Ah, Dean!" The timber wolf shook its head, and Dylan punched the creature with hand-serious blows that had no effect. Angela winced, retreating farther as the bones crunched between the wolf's teeth. "Kill it, Dean!" Dean stayed quiet, hands searching for the gun he lost when an unexpected slug had slammed to his leg. But his gaze was fixed on the shadows. He was hunting for the walking dead man who had done this. "Dean, shoot it!" The wolf jerked the hurt man to his knees, blood covering his muzzle. When the beast let go, baring sharp red teeth, Dylan scrambled to get away. "He'll go for your throat if you move again," Angela forwarded a thought from her beautiful predator's mind, and the twins stilled, holding his mauled arm. Angela quickly retrieved the gun she had dropped, and the injured man glowered at her with a hatred that gave her another deep chill of fear. Her death was in those remorseless eyes, and it was ugly. "This isn't over," Dylan snarled, almost crying in rage. Angela paled, but before she could respond, a voice rang out in commanding fury. "Yes, it is. You're both dead." Marc stepped from behind her muddy blazer. Colt aimed where the other man had fallen out of sight. He advanced purposely in the direction, content that the wolf had things under control. There was no hesitating, no doubt about what had been done. Marc, feeling their deaths in his mind, Angela stopped him. Despite the witch warning her not to interfere with the defense she had chosen, "I'm not hurt. Let's go." Marc didn't turn. "It's a bad idea." "I know," she agreed, but heart thumping at the sound of his voice. Marc gave a reluctantly, slowly fading into the shadowy darkness by her vehicle, and to provide cover without being such a clear target. "Go on, then I'll catch up." Angela moved fast, grabbing her thighs, and was glad when the wolf stayed between her and the furious man on the ground. The doctor inside wanted to help, but to try to make peace, but his hatred, she knew even she could change the way the brothers saw her. They would always loathe her for the surprise defeat. She would only be healing them so that they could continue to hunt her. "They will anyway," the voice behind the now shut door warned. "Better to let your new man kill them." "No killing," Angela denied, "and Marc isn't my man." "We'll come for you, bitch." Dylan was slowly sitting, clothes tacky with blood. The menacing wolf snarled, telling Angela to stay away. If she stepped too close, if Dylan got even a hand on her, the man would snap her neck with her good arm. She caught that image too and was careful not to get in between his reach. "You'll look over your shoulder forever, witch," Dean shouted from the tall grass, still searching for his gun. "You'll bleed rivers while we have you." Evil laughter floated out of the wind, giving Angela another chill despite Marc's presence. When she raised her brow, Marc sighed heavily. Cold gaze returning to the makeup of the high grass. "You already know what I think." Angela studied her conscience for a brief second, but she had lived by the old rules for a long time. "Let's just go." Dylan was in agony, mangled, and wrist extricating. He was horrified to find himself relieved by her decision. For the first time since they were teenagers, the twins had underestimated their prey. Might even need help. It was humbling for men who had engaged entirely military units alone, but especially for Dylan, who was the more aggressive. This humiliating defeat would never be forgotten. She opened the door, but was hesitant to leave Marc alone with the two killers. "Now, take dog if you'll go." Marc's words held a tone of command that she recognized and responded to. Even as she frowned, Angela motioned to the wolf, and it was a bit surprised by how clear the mental answer was from the beautiful animal. "Man is your guardian. I am his." The wolf pushed almost against her leg, able to sense his master's impatience. Angela climbed into the blazer, closing the door. The powerful engine fired up, and she slid the window down to stare at the man on the ground. That should be a fatal injury now. "Will you die?" "Who are you?" Dylan demanded with hatred. The witch smiled, hunger glinting. "You've called enough of my names. Stay clear of me and mine." The blazer was out of sight, and a few seconds later. When both man and the beast started to retreat, Dean and Dylan began to hurl insults, hoping to trap Marc and use him to draw Angela back. "Look at the real bird run." "Coward, can't you finish the job?" Dean yelled. Gun now in hand, Dylan was furious. He didn't care that he was an easy target if Marc chose to fight. Hell won't be far enough for you to run, he shouted, standing awkwardly as his brother came to his side. Excuse me. "We will have her," Dean confirmed ruthlessly. You can't protect her forever." Marc yelled, silent, aware of their tacticals. Hadn't Warren thought to do the same thing? But also sure they meant every word they screamed, unlike the bitter man from the hallway. These two could back it up. Out of sight now, Marc wound through the tall oaks and high bushes, leaving muddy prints in the grass. The wolf kept pace, and the big animal was inside the second he opened the door of his own vehicle. Dog headed for his place in the rear. Marc slid into the started the engine, and the radio immediately lit up, making them both flinch from the unfamiliar sound. "You there, Brady?" He shifted and hit the gas as he keyed the mic. "Be in your mirrors in a click. Kill your lights and stay close." The bright red and white tattles disappeared. "I will." Marc only slowed a little as he went through on the gravel road, pleased she had left the room for him to take the lead. When she fell in tight behind him, he let the training and the knowledge of the area take over, eager to lose the brothers and be alone with her. Glad that the ground here was very dry but not dusty enough to leave tracks, he swung them onto an old dirt path that would eventually bring them out well away from the vengeful threats they were leaving alive. Ignoring her gut that said doing this was a disastrous mistake, Marc lit a smoke and lowered a window a little. Angie hadn't wanted it, and that the last thing he needed was for her to think he wasn't a hardened killer, even though he was. Marc sighed. The damp air rolling in warned of rain, a lot of it, and he told himself to relax. Between the twins' injuries and the weather, he and Angela should be able to get at least a good night's sleep before they had to begin doing sentry duty. Moving quickly, they rolled down the streets and the dirt roads that Angela didn't have time to examine on her map before they were taking a different one. She kept her doors locked, and the attention on the "Born Free and Die That Way" bumper sticker that she could only read when he was hitting his brakes. They traveled through the thick, silent darkness, and her stomach filled with butterflies pulsing, racing. He was here. Marc had finally come. Marc kept one eye on the winding dirt road and one on the vehicle in his mirror. Glad she copied his actions exactly as they rolled around the downed trees, crushed cars, and wireless telephone poles, damaging that he had almost sure had been by an earthquake. She was following him as he had followed her, trusting the choices he made, as he had trusted her choices when he'd followed her trail. It occurred to him again that some of her decisions had been risky and reckless. Finding her had been easy because she was taking the easiest or most reasonable path, only the quickest, like the water crossing in Geneva. They'd both been lucky that bridge had held. Marc wanted to pick up the mic and tell her how happy he was she'd called, but he resisted. This was not the time or the place, not only because of anyone who might be listening. He had to get himself under control first. His mind flashed to the image of her bathed in the firelight. No longer innocent young girl of his dreams, but a full, rounded woman, and he felt the pain keenly. Slender curves, a pale, flawless face, midnight black hair. It was suddenly easy to remember how silky it had been under his trembling young fingers. One single unforgettable weekend 15 long years ago, and he had never gotten close to it again. The occasional barrack bait he had scumbered had been blue-eyed with long, dark hair, and he had loved it all in the dark. Searching for what he had lost, he was always unsatisfied and regretful when it was over. Being with Angie for only a few minutes had already reminded Marc of that, and how lonely he'd been, and unless he couldn't hide it, she would know, too. He'd never gotten over her. And we're going to start book 2 next time, because this was a long book, but it was very intense, if you ask me. I got my hand was fidgeting over here to the side. All right, before we get out of here, I just want to show you this. It's kind of a long video, but I wanted to show you this little hat light. This is what I'll be giving away on the giveaway this week, and I'm going to try to turn it down like this so it's not so bright for the camera. But it does different things, as you can see. But here's something I like about it. If you clip it on your hat, it has this little hinge on it, so you don't have to keep putting your head down like that so you can't see where you're going. But you can put it down like that while you're walking so you can see the path. So I kind of like that light part about this light. And this will be what I'm going to be giving away Saturday night in the drawing. So make sure you come to the live stream in the morning and get your name on the list so that you'll have an opportunity to win this great little hat light. I suppose that you could wear it not just on your hat. You could put it anywhere, like on your backpack or anything. But anyway, that's what I'm going to have. I just wanted to get that out there for you guys. I'll be showing it off tomorrow in the morning stream too. So that's all I have. I hope you guys really enjoyed the story because it's getting intense. I'm going to look down here. We're 25% through the book, and I can't believe that it's always just something every time we read it, something intense that's keeping you on the edge of your seat. So until next time, thanks for listening, you guys, and it's God bless you, God bless me, God bless US of A. Until next time, thanks.